In a newsroom special, UCLA expert Efraín Kristal discusses acclaimed Peruvian author, playwright, essayist, and political activist Mario Vargas Llosa's 2010 Nobel Prize in Literature.
Because I thought that once they gave the Nobel Prize to Gabriel Garcia Marquez, in some way that whole generation of writers had been rewarded. But I think it's a wonderful event. It's that he has received the Nobel Prize because he has continued to be an extremely active writer, an extremely creative writer who renews himself, every decade. Mario Vargas Llosa is an astonishing storyteller. He has this ability to grip a reader from the first line or two of a 1,000-page novel, and you're committed to it from the start. And more than any other Latin American writer, or maybe any other writer of the 20th century, Vargas Llosa, when he started out his literary career, was able to capture in literary form what it means to live in a corrupt society and how corruption can corrode an individual, a community, a whole social world. Vargas Llosa also has an uncanny ability to capture the human voice through the written word, which is part of the reason why his literary world feels like it's coming alive when you read him. He then developed a way of writing in which he would alternate from one literary register to another one, in which, for example, you would have chapters that are developed in an autobiographical mode that alternate with chapters that are obviously the fantasies of an individual. He's extremely, extremely charming. He's very respectful. He's also deeply cultured. He has read an enormous amount. He's deeply knowledgeable about painting and music and the various arts. He's also a very avid film goer. He has a prodigious memory. His ability to remember what he has read, what he has seen, is astonishing. One of his wonderful characteristics is simply his curiosity. He is insatiably curious. When he's around people, he wants to get to know them. He wants to find out about them. He's very respectful as well, so people around him feel that they are important because he asks them questions. He wants to know their lives. And of course, the result of this is that he gets a lot of material for his novels as well. Many of these conversations end up, one way or another, transmogrified into his literary works. Faulkner was one of Vargas Llosa's favorite novelists because Vargas Llosa loved Faulkner's ability to move in time, to move in space, to have conversations that start in one that are going on simultaneously, to move from a register of, say, of a flow of consciousness to a realistic mode. He was fascinated by Faulkner's technique, and he was also fascinated by Faulkner's themes. He was also very engaged with the literature of Gustave Flaubert on the one hand. He loved the idea, Flaubert's idea, that a narrator, a writer of fiction, should somehow treat his literary world the way God treats his creation. Disappear and let it be. Notwithstanding all the thematic changes, notwithstanding all of the transformations in terms of his literary approach, his technical approach to literature, there is one theme that gives coherence to his whole oeuvre, that gives coherence to all of his novels, to his essays. He's also a playwright, to the plays that he has written. And this is the idea that there is a necessary conflict between life as we live it and our imagination. That there's a discrepancy between our hopes, our desires, our aspirations, and our ability to fulfill them. And in his world, in which his characters are faced with these dilemmas, there are fundamentally two responses. One response is rebellion, the other response is fantasy. And I think that his greatest contribution to literature is the exploration of this discrepancy between our hopes and our imaginings.